Welcome to Blueprint Boost for Contractors, the podcast that's your go-to source for unlocking the secrets to successful marketing, gaining valuable insights, and growing your contracting business with less stress. Your host is David Brooks, and he's thrilled to be your guide on this journey. As a seasoned expert in the contracting industry, David understands the challenges you face. That's why each episode is crafted to provide you with actionable strategies and proven blueprints to boost your business to new heights.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, David Brooks, powered by Contractor Rhino. We do have a guest with us for this episode, and I will allow her to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Mary Soldano. I'm honored to be here with David. I am a national SBA 7A lender, and I currently work for True Federal Credit Union.
Oh, it's nice to have you. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into SBA lending?
Yeah, so I am a career SBA lender. I started, I guess, a little over 10 years ago now at a small CDFI based in Philadelphia where we did SBA microloans and community advantage loans, mostly working with new Americans and navigating the American financial system and to navigating financing to buy the real estate that they operate out of. And then I went into full-time SBA 7A lending, mostly specializing in business acquisitions. And I love it. I love every minute of it. I say it's a dream job. Definitely some days are harder than others, but it's been awesome. And I've been with the team at True. I came here, I guess, a little over, I guess, a year and a half ago, but our same team has been together for about 4 or 5 years now. And so it's been a dream getting to work with those people.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. So you started off and now you're pivoting in this from what you're doing slightly, right? But you've expounded upon that not only in the SBA space, but also into entrepreneurship too as well. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, and I always forget about that because I'm so used to just talking about the SBA 7A part of me, especially in forums like this. And so we did, when you're in business acquisition financing, we caught the bug and bought a business ourselves a little less than a year ago now. My husband and my brother-in-law and I are all partners. We bought a corporate catering company called Tasty Table. So if you're in the Philadelphia area and listening to this, we'd love to cater your next event. And it was interesting being on the borrower side of it. And so we did use an SBA 7A loan. And it is a lot more nerve-wracking being on that side than it is being on the lending side. But everything went great. And the lender we went with was awesome. I went with a great friend in the industry who took really great care of us. But yeah, it's cool to be able to be on now the small business side as well and really understanding what small businesses go through every day.
Nice. That's excellent. Being able to, like you said, get into it yourself, and now you know the opposite side of the coin.
Yes. It's not all just numbers and cash flow and management experience, which those are the 3 biggest things SBA lenders look at, but there's so much more to just running a small business and managing people in general.
Mhm. And since you have now that experience on the lender side, SBA side, and then now as a business owner, how has that shaped your perspective in regards to the challenges like a business may face?
So because mostly I do business acquisition, so I will frame it that way. We will entertain other 7A loans, but it's been helpful in being able to ask better questions on the front end and helping small business owners who are looking to buy a business, those individuals understand a little bit more what they're getting into. Because when you're looking at buying a business, you're looking at the sell side SIM, which is like a document that the seller's broker typically puts together that shares everything about that business. And not everything is written down on paper, right? So you get to ask a lot more creative questions being on this side of it. And yeah, you really can kind of explain to them what goes into it on a day-to-day basis and making sure they're ready for that.
Oh, excellent. Now, the hot topic right now, especially in the industry, is with home services. And as you know, with AI coming in and taking over a lot of different jobs, people are looking to pivot into different fields. SaaS kind of took a hit. But now people are looking at the trades and like, how do I purchase a trade business? Can you tell us, how someone can leverage an SBA loan to be able to do that, to get an acquisition under a belt or a few acquisitions under their belt?
Yeah, of course. So trades is basically any type of more service-based business, right? Where you need an actual human being to do that job, like HVAC or plumbing or electrical or even lawn maintenance, right? I don't know if we're eventually, but not right now anyway. Robots are not handling our lawn care. And so a big thing that a lot of credit departments are looking at more closely these days is industry experience. So I think if you even adjacent industry experience, or if you have a really good friend who has industry experience to come alongside you, is really important. Because if you, let's say you've just been in data analytics your whole career, but you want to buy a construction company, it's very different fields, right? So the payment terms are very different. The personnel is very different, the type of jobs you're working on. So I think it's really important if you want to get into a trades business that you really understand that industry. And I would go all in. So I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I'm just looking for any trades business, but choose one and really study that industry. Maybe get someone to mentor you under it, or find someone that you really trust to go in with you who knows the industry inside and out. The company we bought was corporate catering, as I mentioned earlier, and my husband and brother-in-law both have industry experience in that. One ran a wedding catering company for a while, and one did a farm to table catering company. And I think is how it's helped us make it through our first year in ownership. I don't know what we would have done if we didn't understand the industry.
Nice. That's a good point. Really being able to understand the industry, to be able to leverage a friend or maybe a family member that
Yeah.
has, worked inside of that type of business to be able to do, something jointly together, to make it work, because you may be good on, like I said, maybe you come from data analytics, so maybe you're good with numbers and that person is good with understanding the business operations and what it takes and the systems and processes that need to be put in place. So I think the two marrying itself together makes, sense, especially when you're looking at acquiring.
Yeah, and a big thing I always ask too, when we're vetting out on the front end, is asking, what does the seller do on a day-to-day basis? What have you done in your past that is similar to that, or that how are you going to learn how to do that in a short amount of time to be able to take over this company? Because then it really creates some type of tangible tasks, right? It's not like, oh, I'm running this business and I'm going to do marketing and X, Y, and Z, but really asking the seller, well, what does your typical day look like? What does your Tuesday look like on a normal week? And then seeing if that is what you actually want, and trying to get them to tell you honestly as well, right? And I think it's okay if you have a lot of interest in the industry, right? And you just really want to learn it, but you may not have that experience, as long as then the bench strength is strong. So when I say bench strength, it's whoever is currently working at that company. So really try to understand the employees. How long have they been there? What are their day-to-day roles? A lot of people just look at the numbers and they say, oh, this cash flow is great. But if your office manager leaves and you find out they were basically running everything for you, that may tank very quickly. So kind of really getting ahead a lot of those questions in the acquisition space.
That's good. Really good to know. But on the flip side of that, let's just say I do have that experience and I already have Joe's Plumbing, right? I already own that. Joe's Plumbing is going well.
Yeah.
What does that look like for me? What kind of challenges or what kind of preparation should I be mindful of if I'm trying to go ahead and acquire another plumbing brand and bring it underneath my umbrella?
Yeah, so I think the two biggest things would be capacity and finances. So what does your personal capacity look like to be able to run two companies? Would it increase that depending on who that other company has already running their day-to-day operations? And then also, you really want to make sure your financials are in order. So depending on a lot of small businesses, they may not look at their P&L until the end of the year, but they just know, okay, I'm paying my bills, but I don't really know how much I'm making. So really getting, whether it's a bookkeeper or your CPA or yourself, getting into the numbers and being able to explain, if you're going the lending route, explain to a lender, hey, this is what my financials look like, and being able to present it in a clean way. I can't tell you the number of times, especially early in my career, that I received P&L statements like handwritten on paper. Now, a lot of businesses these days have QuickBooks where they can export a P&L statement, but don't just export it and send it to us. Export it, read it first, make sure it makes sense, because maybe you entered something wrong here or there. but really get those financials in order. Make sure you're not past due on any taxes. That's a big thing that lenders look at, especially in the SBA space, because we are, backed by the government. So we're going to be looking to make sure all taxes are up to date and paid as well.
Yeah, that's helpful to know, especially in the preparation part and getting things organized. And like you said, just not just sending it over on handwritten on a piece of paper.
Yes, because I know you're anxious, right? You want to know, do I qualify for this funding? But I think it's better to take the time and read what you're sending before you're sending it off to the lender.
Mhm. And when we think about preparing or getting in mind that, hey, we want to go ahead and make another acquisition, what are some things leading up to it that a business owner or someone looking to acquire this business needs to, like, hey, before you sign off on everything, these are some, it's a lot of boxes to check, but here are a few that you really want to just review and make sure you fully understand.
Yeah, you want to understand the cash flow of the company you're buying. You're asking about the company they're
Yes. Yep.
acquiring, correct?
Yep.
You want to understand the cash flow more than anything. How does money come in? How does money leave? And for like, just an example, learning this too on a daily basis in our business, it's mostly corporate catering for very large institutions. So a lot of those folks are in net 30 or net 60 pay cycles, but we still have to pay our people and pay for the food that we are doing. So there's a delayed cash expense expectancy component there. So depending on who the customers are, and so understanding the cash flow, you then kind of flow into the rest of the questions a little bit, I think, because then you understand who the customers are, how are those customers paying, is there any customer concentration? If you buy the next biggest plumbing company, but they have 80% customer concentration and that person leaves, can you still afford to pay your debt back? And asking some of those hard questions. And some may feel uncomfortable, but it's worth it before you sign and the money leaves the door. So it's a cash flow and then who is doing what in that business. So if the seller is working like 15 hours a day and, trying to make ends meet and is super stressed out every month, maybe there needs to be some changes made, or you need to bring on a partner to help you run that next business as well. So I would say the cash flow, understanding who does what in the business that you're buying, and then the industry, right? So is it an industry that's on decline right now, or is it an industry that's going to continue to increase? People may see, oh, well, I could buy this business at a discount because it's on a decline. Just make sure you really know what you're doing if you are going down that route.
No, that's excellent advice. No, that's really helpful to the audience, to the listeners. And then on the flip side of that, after you've acquired the business and it's like, hey, like let's celebrate. Like, what are those things, especially you can speak from experience, what things you need to be paying attention to in those first 90 days of acquisition?
Probably the people, right? The people that you're managing. And so I'm assuming this is a business that had like where you are working day to day with other humans, right? And so I think the biggest thing is kind of earning your keep there, right? Just because you bought the place, those people may not respect you yet. And so really getting everybody on board with where you want to take the company, understanding what their goals and their mission is, being there. The seller and I don't want to say too much, but like you just find things out, right? Post acquisition.
Yeah.
I have borrowers all the time call me and say, well, I didn't know the seller hired this person right before we bought the business. And then, so the cash flow is actually 30 grand less because they hired this part-time assistant or something like that. So there are there are little things that will come up. So it's important when you are looking at the cash flow to make sure there's a lot of wiggle room there, because the seller is being as truthful as possible, but there's going to be inevitability that they're going to forget things.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really good. Integrating yourself and learning the people, building those relationships. Because, like you said, you just because you now own the business doesn't just you don't get grandfathered in of, hey, everybody dislikes you automatically.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen those memes. They're like all over LinkedIn right now, where it's a bunch of like guys in these MBA vests and jackets going into, a huge plumbing company, and all these plumbers who are career-long plumbers being like, you don't know what you're doing. Do you know how to fix a toilet?
Yeah.
So, and that's where some of that industry stuff comes into play, where it's different, where yes, you may be qualified to run this business, but bringing in a partner, someone who is going to really earn the respect of your staff. I think that is important.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. And then when we think about it, there's so many, I know you've run across so many different people throughout your career, but can you share a success story where the dots just connected and the buyer, they just made out really good?
Yeah, I actually one just texted me today looking for his second acquisition. So he's been at he previously was at a large PE firm for many, many years, but a PE firm that was buying different HVAC companies, which I know is really big in that space right now.
Mhm.
But before that, he actually also worked at a small business doing HVAC. So he had the direct industry experience. He was the one with the hammer and nails at one point in time. And so he bought, it was a little bit of a smaller business. It was right under $1 million purchase price, and it's doing great. It's doing better than what he expected. And he's now reaching out to see if he can buy another company that basically is a smaller competitor where he could buy that and then add that onto his services. And so that's the dream because you never know when someone's reaching out to you, whether it's 3 months or a year later, and you just gave them money for an acquisition. You're like, hey, this is either like call of can I have a deferment? Things aren't what I thought. Or it is one of those exciting calls. They're like, I want to do my next acquisition. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart. Someone was like, are you sure? We just closed and it wasn't easy. It's not easy. But it's doable. And so those are the best when somebody comes back to you to buy their second acquisition and their first one went great.
No, that's excellent. That's a really great story. Coming back and you're like, I don't know. Well, hopefully this call goes well.
Yes. And most of it, I'm knock on wood, probably like 9 out of 10 of my customers are calling and it's going well, but you just never know.
Yeah. No, no, that's really good. So from the success story and things going well, so if I'm starting from square one and I'm thinking about, acquisition being on the calendar for next year or for even within the next 2 to 3 years, where's my starting point at?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on who you are, right? And what you're looking for. You also have to have your personal financials in order. So if you're in the group of folks who you don't own a small business right now and you are an individual wanting to get into the acquisition space, definitely make sure your personal financials are in order. So that means decent credit, you're not past due on anything. And then start building up money for a down payment. So typically SBA does require 10% of the total project costs. So that does depend on the business that you're buying and what all those project costs look like, but they also don't want to take everything you have. So if you want to buy $1 million company and all you have is $100,000, they're going to qualify you for a little bit less because they want you to have some post closing liquidity. So keep that in mind to save a little bit more than what your required down payment is. And that would just really make sure your resume is in shape. You've like a buyer bio type of thing that a lot of searchers now these days are doing. And if you know your trajectory is 3 years from now, and let's say you're set on that plumbing company we're talking about, then see if you could like get with some small business owners who are plumbers and learn from them, right? Like see if they would take you on as a mentee and mentor you on their spare time, or even if you could work for free for them, like, hey, I want to work 1 day a week to learn your trade. And then who knows, maybe one day they'll sell you that business. So you still have to keep your day job, obviously, to be able to keep saving. But I think that really speaks volumes to a lender. And whenever I hear about a seller buyer relationship of, well, I've known the seller for the last year, I've been learning from him, I've already been training from him, that's huge because that also means then that seller believes in that buyer to take their business to the next level.
That's great. That's a great starting point. That's really good advice, especially like I said, depending on where they're at in their journey and what they're looking at. But just doing the most preparation that they can, so when that time does come, it's an easier transition to get started, and you can start piecing things together slowly but surely instead of saying like, "Hey, now I'm officially ready," and it's like, "Wait, wait, wait, we need this information. Did you consider this?" And had to look at that, and now that you know or ahead of time, you could work on that. So some things may
Yeah.
need to be adjustment or looked at, and now you're prepared more fully.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And who knows, like if you just say because the cash flow looks great, you can get in there and then keep doing what you're doing. So
Mhm.
you want to make sure you're doing all of your homework. SBA loans are 10 years. So it's not like they're short in and out. You're committing to this for a minimum of 10 years.
Mhm.
unless you sell it earlier.
Yeah. All right. So thinking about that, so we have the success story, we have our preparation, doing our due diligence beforehand. Where do you see the landscape of SBA lending, especially with trade business acquisition, evolving in the next few years?
I think it's going to continue to grow. I think we still have another good 10 to 15 years, maybe of rapid growth. It is true what they say where most small business owners right now are in their 60 to 70, right? And so they're looking to either they're going to retire or close shop. And so it is important for this generation to see what they can do, especially if the children of those individuals are not taking it over. So the data is there that supports that. And the biggest thing with SBA lending is I think it comes into that where you want that experience as well. So even if you don't have that experience, but you know you want to own a business one day, I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, is partnering with somebody who may. You may have a cousin or a really good friend who has the industry experience, but really getting into that, that's what credit shops are looking mostly at these days. The SBA industry is very special, where a lot of us, we send deals back and forth to each other just because different credit appetites, right? So from across the board, everybody's looking a little bit tighter at experience and figuring out, is this person capable of running this specific business that they're buying from an industry perspective? And so anything you can do to kind of build that out and kind of prove that concept to the lender you're working with is going to help you.
Amazing. Great information, great point, and great trajectory. And now is the time to, if you're looking to go in that direction, you have some years ahead of us that look like the prime time to be able to do so. So if you could take advantage of that now, better than later.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, we covered a lot of great information here. Any, final thoughts, any recommendations again from you? And then where can people find you at?
Yeah, I would just say start the process early so you can start talking to SBA lenders at any part in the process. There's many all over the country. I would say work with one of the national ones too, which is us, right? And so, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me at True Liant. My email's Mary. I don't know if you're going to put it in the notes and stuff, but Mary.Soldano at TrueLiantFCU.org for anything SBA 7A related. And yeah, I would just say really start early, right? There's never such thing as a bad question. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity over the next 10 to 15 years in this space.
Mhm. No, that's excellent. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes too, so everybody doesn't.
And I never know what will go there.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the show notes that way everybody knows, just in case they couldn't catch it. But no, Mary, we appreciate that. So much valuable information. If you're looking for a business acquisition and you're ready for growth, definitely reach out to Mary.
Yeah, I'd love to see if we can help you guys out.
All right, excellent. Well, everyone, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure you tune into the next one. Until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Blueprint Boost for Contractors. We hope you found today's insights and strategies valuable for your contracting business. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and please leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bring content that truly matters.